Hey, everybody, and welcome to the For Female Founders podcast series, where we are helping women in business learn to thrive, not just survive. I am your host, Sarah Bundy, and today my guest is Theresa Rowsell, who's the co-founder and CEO of MotherTree. Theresa is a seasoned executive who's ridden the waves of scale many times, leading through growing pains from millions to hundreds of millions and guiding multiple M&A transactions along the way. Shaped by a deep understanding of struggle and a drive to create real change, she leads with empathy and vision, building a legacy business that reflects the world that she wants to leave behind. Theresa, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sarah. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yay. And I hear this is your very first podcast ever. Is that true?
It is.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't wait. I'm very honored that I get to be the first person that interviews you on a podcast series. And I'm actually shocked because you're so incredibly experienced and advanced in all of the things. We don't know where you've been hiding, but I'm glad that you're finally here.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you discovering me.
Good stuff. Well, today we're going to be talking about how to build an impact or a legacy business, because that's what you're building right now. You came from an incredible background in corporate. You're very high up the corporate ladder, have worked with some of the largest brands in the world, and you've made some interesting transitions into being an entrepreneur and building your own business to actually make a difference in the world now. So love to hear more about it. How did you get started? What is your story? And what had you start MotherTree? With Awin's marketing technology platform, you can easily discover the best partners who connect you with huge audiences of new customers. Understand how your partnerships are performing with intuitive reporting and only pay for the results you need. Start today and grow your own way with Awin.
Oh my gosh. That is a big question, really. How did I arrive here? I can tell you that I didn't take a traditional path. I wasn't the type of person that, knew right away what I wanted to do, set out to go to university and just go out and do it. I found my way into business through sort of a zigzaggy path. I started out going to school for law and security administration. I initially wanted to be a police officer. That took me into business sort of indirectly. I started working in risk management and asset integrity, which is where I first got introduced to business, learning about the bottom line and learning about the things that impact profit margins and erode profitability. And eventually I fell in love with business. It led me down many paths. I come by my executive experience in my chief operating officer title very much by working my way up, and I've worked in supply chain and e-commerce and business strategy, eventually getting into M&A and raising money. As I worked up the ranks, I also found myself in these companies that were going through hyper growth and these sort of milestone moments. And so I had to learn to work through some challenging circumstances. Sometimes we were successful and sometimes we failed. But that turned out to be just some great privilege. And I learned not only about business, but I learned about how to build strong cultures and how critically important your relationship with people are in order to get through those pieces. And so about a couple years ago, I decided that I was going to take some time off. I was feeling a little restless. I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue my corporate career. I started to feel pulled towards entrepreneurship. I was feeling restless. I wanted to do something. I wanted to build something. I wasn't sure what I wanted to build. And so I took a self-imposed sabbatical and spent some time really reflecting about what my next step would be, which inevitably led me here to launching MotherTree.
Well, let's talk a little bit about MotherTree and what your vision is for this incredible company that you're building. I know off screen, you and I have had a very in-depth conversation about what MotherTree does, and it's different and it has wide reach and multi-generational legacy type of work ahead of it. So please tell us what you're doing at MotherTree and what the intention is of it.
Yeah, so MotherTree is, in my mind, the thing that, it's the vehicle for me to use the skills and experience that I have to do good in the world. We're on a mission to really think a little bit differently about capital. We want to humanize business, and we want to use profit for purpose. You can think of us kind of in a similar way to private equity, only we're on a path to use business for good and for positive impact, not just today, but in the long term as well. We're not an exit-oriented organization, but we are looking to grow. We aren't a charity. We are not a nonprofit. We are a for-profit business, but we're focused on long-term sustainable growth that can transition from one generation to the next. We're thinking about using profits and distributing those profits in a way that shares resources through that lens. And we're looking to use profits as a way to circulate wealth, improve the lives of the people that are working within our companies and within the ecosystem of MotherTree, and with the hope to inspire other people to want to do the same thing. So that's a little bit about MotherTree. The thing that we do is that we steward businesses from one set of capable hands into another, and that happens through acquisition. So we acquire businesses, and then we modernize them, and we help them by supporting them to grow their revenue so that we can grow our impact, and we also circulate the benefits of that profit in a way that is equitable and in a way that has the mindset of shared prosperity so that everyone's benefiting from the hard work that's generating those profits.
A great big thank you to our sponsors, PartnerStack. PartnerStack's ecosystem connects you to the world's largest B2B network for you to earn, connect, and grow. That's so awesome. And one of the things that you and I talked about on a previous call as we were getting to know each other more is the amount of wealth that is about to get transferred from one generation to the next. And I think part of the challenge is, how do people who are transitioning their wealth, whether it's legacy work, whether it's inheritance from one of the older generations to a younger generation, how do these people, these business owners, these land owners, these cash wealth rich owners decide where to allocate their funds and what to do with these businesses? And how do you help them do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's exactly one of the big influences that inspired us to start MotherTree, because there is over $1 trillion of wealth that's going to change hands in Canada alone over the next year or two. Much of that wealth is going to find its way into the hands of women. And at MotherTree, we see an opportunity to look at that wealth transfer and help to direct it in a way that can have a positive change. And so we're really looking to work with individuals who aren't necessarily looking for an ROI, return on investment, but they're looking to see their wealth that they've accumulated circulate in a way that has a positive impact. And so we're a partner for that, whether it's they want to give us money that we then use to either invest in long-term for long-term returns that would feed back into MotherTree, or we use that money to acquire companies. But in some cases, they might provide us with assets, an existing business or a property that they want to see developed into some future benefit. And so we first work with those individuals to understand what does legacy mean to them? What is it that is important to them that they want to see help shape the future? And then we work with them to bring that to life. And so although we have a playbook and we have experience in how to go about the transactions of the movement of assets, or how to modernize a business so that it's prepared for growth, the part that's unique is what the motivation is for each of those individuals, that the reason why they care that their business stays in the community, even maybe beyond when they're on this planet. And so we spend time with them up front, really understanding, not just what works in their business and what we want to make sure gets translated as this, next generation of entrepreneur comes in, but really what is it that they're hoping they're seeding with their legacy that they're leaving behind with either their wealth or their assets or the business that they've created.
And one of the things that we've talked about as well is the types of choices that these guys will make when they work with you and they say, here's the community I would like to support, or here is the underrepresented group that I would like my company to actually be able to be led by in the future. Tell me two things. One, what are the different types of groups and communities that you're specifically focused on supporting? And two, how are you actually helping make that desire come to a reality?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we at MotherTree really want to ensure that the next generation of business owners and the next generation of investors reflects women, it reflects queer people, it reflects the Indigenous community and other equity deserving groups. And so inherently, I've been a supporter of women entrepreneurship and women in business for my whole career, even when I was in my corporate career. And so I feel that I've been building for this my whole life and building community around that. And so part of it is making sure that we are in the places and spaces of where those folks are. And then secondly, that we are inviting people in through community building, through, showing up at different, whether it's Web Summit or these different places where I participated in a women-led impact investor challenge with Spring last year. So just really making sure we're connecting who we're trying to serve and who we're trying to bring into the community and making sure we're in those places and spaces. What was the second part of your question again? I'm sorry.
Well, part of it is the diversity of who they're representing. And then the second question is, how are you helping those groups be able to integrate into this legacy plan that you're supporting your clients with?
Yeah, so really it's a matter of becoming a cross-pollinator. And so in a lot of instances, we've got folks who have, accumulated wealth or generated wealth or built these incredible businesses, these, boomers that are maybe getting ready to retire and have had this incredible business that they've ran for the last 20 years. And a lot of times we're sort of matchmaking these entrepreneurs who, maybe they don't want to start their own business, but they have an appetite for entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, it's just a matter of matchmaking and finding, what are the values that are leading MotherTree that have attracted both of those groups together, and then finding the right fit. And so in some ways, it's a bit of a matchmaking type of skill. But it's starts from a place of listening and honoring what the business is that we're transitioning and what's important to that contributor about what stays vital, and then looking for the people and then putting them together.
Now, you've talked a little bit about having a playbook that you've used throughout your career. And actually, you used to be a professional hockey player too at one point, didn't you?
Not quite professional, but I did play from the age of 4 until, for many, many years. I won't date myself, but yeah, I did play a high level hockey though. Absolutely.
And in that, since you were 4 years old, you understand the value of having a good playbook, I imagine. So that kind of transition from sport into corporate life and now into entrepreneurship. Tell us a little bit about your playbook, if you don't mind, and how you're using it to support the businesses that you're now leaving these legacy interactions and legacy businesses behind.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I've been in athletics since I could really walk. And I think that team sport and athletics is an incredible way to develop leaders. And I would have had no idea how much learning how to play on a team and train with a team and work through adversity with a team would translate to my business career and my future. And so I find that I've drawn on those experiences throughout my career. And I think that sport is an incredible way to develop future leaders. And so I will just say that. And I think that when I think about my playbook, I really have foundations of what I look at when I go into a business. So whether it was in my corporate career and I was deciding if I was going to go work for a certain company, or as a fractional COO, if I'm working with an organization, where do I start? And it really comes down to people, process, product, financials, and strategy. And so the playbook is really developed around those 5 pillars that every business has. It's industry agnostic. What I know as a seasoned leader who has led millions of dollars in revenue and also hundreds of people in teams, I can tell you that every business problem that exists can be solved. Where the complexity comes in is with people. And so I focus on people first. And my playbook around people has come from learning that when you look after your people, they'll look after your business, they'll look after your customer. And so if you really make sure that everything from the resources they have to do their job, to the programs that you provide to them working in your company, to how you pay them and reward them and compensate them, if those things are looked after, they'll look after you. And so that is the most important pillar in the playbook. However, all of those pillars have to be intact in order for you to run a healthy, successful business.
Is there a particular industry that you love? Because there are so many different types of business, right? There are lots of provinces and states, and there's the West Coast, and there's the East Coast, and there's different groups. Where is your personal passion, and what do you like to do with them?
My personal passion is experience. I grew up in retail. I eventually worked in, home services. I moved into tech later, but my heart is in interacting with people and creating experiences, that surprise and delight that you can provide someone. So whether it's, how that end user interacts with your UI and UX of your tech platform, or it's somebody coming into your restaurant or your hotel and having that experience that's created. Oh, I love it. And all of the detail that goes around it. And I know that the loyalty of any business comes down to experience. And I've worked for some really high culture companies. I've always worked backward from the experience toward the technology or to the business. It's never led me astray. And so for me, it's all about the experience. I love any business that has to do with delivering surprise and delight and experiences to people.
I think that also goes in line with your people first focus. If we're thinking about what is the experience that the humans get on the other side of receiving whatever product or service or brand experience that they're getting, and work your way backwards to your point, it's a great way to tackle the challenges, systematize advancing and improving. And you also talked about modernizing businesses, because there's quite a few businesses that are still stuck, 20 years ago. They haven't adapted to technology. They haven't adapted to user trends or needs, haven't adapted to AI. How do you help modernize businesses today? And how important is that actually?
Well, it is quite important to our formula. And that's because we want to make sure that we can stimulate growth within the MotherTree ecosystem. And so, I'm not focused on businesses that are fixer-uppers and something that you have to turn around. When I find a business that needs a level of modernization, it's been underinvested in. It's had an incredible owner for the last 20 plus years, but they just haven't caught up. They've got an outdated website, or, they haven't embraced, modern POS systems or whatever technologies might be able to be layered into that business to help increase efficiency, maybe increase, sales activity. The reason I'm looking for those is because I know that if we can stimulate growth and help to improve profitability of those companies, then that's going to benefit the overall ecosystem. And so MotherTree's model is based on our ability to take a percentage of profits and feed it back into the system, whether it's for short-term benefit or long-term benefit. So I need to find companies and organizations where I can see the opportunity to improve those two pieces in order for the model to work. So we need companies that and there are many of them out there where they're excellent companies that have incredible history of customers and loyalty and repeat customers, but with a little bit of investment from us and some support, we can really stimulate some growth and make sure that they stay current and relevant to, for the next generation of ownership.
There are two things that you just said that are really important that you focus on. One is stimulating growth, and then the other one is helping to improve profitability, because then as cash flow increases, you can reinvest not only in the growth of the organization, but the expansion and contribution to the legacy work that you're trying to do with the MotherTree ecosystem. What are some tips that you have for businesses that are trying to stimulate growth right now?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting time to be stimulating growth, and I think it depends on the business. I was just talking with an entrepreneur recently who experienced something they didn't expect. They ended up having to close their business down for a couple of months, and so they had a pretty good established base of repeat customers, like loyal, like membership-based customers coming to their experience their services that they offer. And what I had said to him was, you have to get targeted with who you're talking to. You have to invite those folks back. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what's happening around us. I believe the single most important thing is being in relationship with your customers, listening to your customers, understanding what they need. In his particular case, it's inviting them back, reminding them why they enjoy you. And a great way to do that is to surprise and delight them in some way. And so whether that is directly, through inviting them to come back on you to kind of just re-engage that. In his case, he needed to get some cash flow in the business. And so he's going to offer them like 2 months. If they give him 2 months up front, they'll get 3 months of services with him. Mm-hmm. But it really depends on what it is that's missing in your business. But it never fails. If you get into relationship with your customer and you stay close to them, they'll tell you what will have them coming back. And that could be a community event. That could be, offering them some value. One of the iconic brands that I worked for part of my career, we did community events in our stores where there was no cost to our customer, but we invited them in to sweat with us. Mm-hmm. And so we'd have a yoga class or a spin class or something that was on us. It had nothing to do with what we were trying to sell them. It had to do with building community. And so that authentic relationship will pay dividends, especially in tough times.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I know that people appreciate it too, because to your point, the world is loud. There's a lot of noise. We are bombarded with information, content, advertising on a regular basis. People are losing that connection with other humans, and they don't want to be talked at. They want to be engaged with, and they want to be connected. So if we're creating these opportunities for people to connect with each other, to feel seen and heard, and it's not about business, it's about people and community and connection, how do you argue wanting to be involved in something like that? People just want that so much. And if it's free of charge, then people need that type of opportunity.
I'll give you one really great example that happened to me recently. I've been going to the same place to get my hair done for a couple of years. And I went in not too long ago, and you're at the hair salon, you're having conversation. It's like bartenders and hair salons, they get all the secrets. Yeah. We had an authentic conversation. I shared some difficult struggle that I was going through at the time. And, my hairstylist listened, we talked. And then when it came time to pay, he was like, you know what? It's on me. He's like, you've been a loyal customer. You're going through a hard time, and I got you. And it's so impactful. But that moment of feeling seen and supported by someone that I had zero expectation of, I mean, I will literally, not only will I not ever leave him, but I have probably sent 10 people his way. And so, perfect example of being in relationship with your customer.
And in your words earlier, surprise and delight.
Exactly.
He surprised and delighted you, and you will forever remember that. And loyalty, growth, perfect example. I love that. Thank you so much. And you had also mentioned improving profitability, because this is obviously a big part of running a business, especially if you're a for-profit business. You want to have profits, you want to have cash flow, you want to reinvest. What are some tips that you have in regards to improving profitability for those who are listening?
Well, one of the biggest flaws that I see in businesses that I help is cash flow management. Cash flow is the most important lifeline in your business. And so, thinking about things like how you're planning ahead for seasonality in your business, like if you've got a high season and a low season, how are you putting profits aside during the high season to make sure you can weather through the low season? Making sure you understand the implications of investment is so critical to your ability as a business owner to make sure you're keeping the lights on. So number one, make sure you understand your cash flow, and that you are continuously making sure you're looking at the implications of cash investments on that cash flow. So number one. Number two, what are you good at and what aren't you good at? And when you're prioritizing what partners you're going to work with, contractors you're going to be in, tools you're going to implement, whatever it might be, prioritize the things that is not your zone of genius. One example I have right now with an entrepreneur that I work with is an absolute genius in the subject matter expertise of their business. But when it comes to business financials, when it comes to HR, when it comes to operations, that's not what they're great at. And so we've prioritized investment in resources like someone who's good at operations. We've brought in an administrative support person, and we're bringing in a CFO.
Great.
If your jam is CFO, but it's not product design, find someone who's really great at product design. Oftentimes I see something that takes you 20 minutes might take me 2 hours. But if I spent that 2 hours on the thing I'm really good at, then that's a way that you are investing in your company. So prioritize the things you're good at, and find, there's a great book called Who Not How. Find your who and figure out what you can delegate that you're not really good at. Yeah.
I love that, Theresa. Thank you so much. So the book, Who Not How, I think that's great. So many good tips today. Unfortunately, we are out of time for our first podcast together, but I'd love to talk to you again in the future, dig a little deeper into the operations of business, the scalable strategies of business, how to get funding. You're great at getting funding. A lot of people struggle with that. So I'd love to talk to you again. We'll do a part 2 if you're up for it. In the meantime, if anybody wants to contact you at MotherTree, what's the best way to reach out to you, Theresa?
You can check us out at mothertreeco.com, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Theresa Rowsell is my handle. And or email me at teresa@mothertreeco.com.
Love it. Thanks for being here, Theresa, and thanks to our listeners for joining in. We'll catch you on the next show.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks for listening to the 4 Female Founders podcast series. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe, like, or comment below so we can continue to support women in business by helping them thrive, not just survive. We'll see you on the next show.